the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. And Josh, I got to ask you something.
Okay.
You live in Idaho.
I do.
Where would you say regionally Idaho is in the United States?
Like, you have like the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest, and you have
those groups. You get the
yeah. I have typically considered it like northern Idaho kind of get loops into like the Pacific Northwest, like up in Coeur d'Alene.
Sure.
Is
because like you're pretty close to Washington
right?
State,
I mean, it's an hour from Spokane,
right?
So that typically kind of gets looped in up there. But down here, I've always just considered it like Rocky Mountain, right? And when I think Rocky Mountain, I think, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and then, maybe some parts of like Nevada. So that's kind of my geographic.
And New Mexico.
That's right. And New Mexico.
I mean, people put New Mexico in the Southwest, which is fine. But if you said Mountain West, which is what I would call what you just said, Rocky Mountain, then I would consider that like sort of New Mexico fits in both because it's on the Rocky chain, but it's far enough south that it's considered Southwest.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought about including New Mexico, but I thought you might be the expert on that one, so I was going to let you call it.
It's legit.
Okay.
It's in the Rock. I mean, people think that New Mexico is like Arizona, but New Mexico is a lot more like Colorado than it is like Arizona. Albuquerque's Mile High.
Yeah.
It snows in the winter.
Okay.
It's 4 seasons. Okay, the reason I bring this up, Josh, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal this weekend about people considering who considers themselves in the Midwest. Okay? So I'm going to put up this chart here on YouTube, and you've got your typical Midwest boundaries that is defined by the U.S. Census. It's the Dakotas, Nebraska, and Kansas, and then across the bottom you've got Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio and Michigan, and then, of course, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Okay?
Yep.
Those are the states. I don't think anybody really disagrees with that. Ohio people seem to be a little less clear, but people in Idaho, it's like, I forget I think it was 15%, said that Idaho was in the Midwest, Josh. Tell me how that's possible.
It's outrageous. I don't know. I don't know who would say that. That makes no sense to me, because I think I would consider Idaho, if I had to pick, right? Let's say you took out a Mountain West, right, and that wasn't a choice. I would still default to Pacific Northwest before I would default to the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, like the Midwest starts to lose its meaning if it includes Idaho. But I was shocked. I mean, 50% of Coloradans believe that they live in the Midwest. Now, like, I guess if you live on the very eastern edge of Colorado,
right next to Kansas,
then you're like it's like kind of closer to being Midwestish than it is to being Mountain Westish.
Sure.
But 50%, same with Wyoming. I don't know how I feel like Wyoming, like you're like in cowboy country. That is not the Midwest. People in Pennsylvania saying they live in the Midwest.
Do you remember we had a chat about this, about the Midwest and what the Midwest designations were? I think it was last year.
Oh, yeah, because we were like fighting about Missouri or something.
I can't remember. I was about to ask you, which state were we arguing about being a part of the Midwest?
Now I don't remember.
I don't either.
But I just found that very interesting. And Oklahomans believe they live in the Midwest, even though that's not official by the census.
Like almost overwhelming.
Yes, like 70-something% of Oklahomans believe they live. Which, what is Oklahoma? I think if you asked me, I would probably say I would consider it Midwest.
I probably would too. I would have said so.
I don't know. It's like Texas North. Sorry, Oklahoma. I was there once. I've been there once in my life.
Never been.
It's totally unfair. I went for a Frisbee tournament. It was like 100 degrees and horribly humid. And I was like, I'm good. I'm never coming back here.
Have you ever gone? I guess you said you've only been once.
No,
I've
never gone back. And I haven't been to like Tulsa, Oklahoma City. I'm sure they're nice, but Anyway, so I found this shocking. This article was shocking. The fact that there were people in Idaho who believe they live in the Midwest was totally shocking to me.
It's funny to me because Utah is closer to the Midwest than Idaho is. But nobody in Utah thinks that they live in the Midwest because
certainly some must, but they were not enough to get on the chart.
Not enough to get caught by the sample size.
Oh my gosh. So Midwest listeners, let us know. How do you feel about this? Does Oklahoma belong? What about Colorado and Wyoming? This is blowing my mind a little bit. All right. We've got a great show. Niklas Antilla will join us shortly. He just announced a re-signing with Discmania for 4 years. So, Josh, it was all a ruse. I don't really. This is just what a silly thing. I'm sorry. I mean, in a way, I get it. People talked about Niklas, and now we have him coming on the show.
He's right. Yeah,
but it's just. You're just like lying to us. I don't like that.
Yeah. Especially because I think there could have been a way to hype your Sky team with your new additions and right. I don't fly him in or something.
Helicopter.
No, that's been done, Charlie. Private charter jet. But right. Do some sort of Sky team release. And, where you headline and you're like, our new Sky team, and you hit Gannon and Kyle, and then you have Niklas like pop up in the middle and like announce his promotion as well. And you hype it with like a really cool release or sets of releases. There was opportunity there to do it well. And I don't think it was done well.
Well, he gets the bag. He stays at Discmania. I think one thing that's hard for U.S. fans to maybe realize is just how important a European market is to Discmania and like how big Niklas is there, like as the multi-time Finnish champion. Like he's probably the biggest star in Europe besides Kristen.
Yeah.
So like he has value there that goes above and beyond his recognition in the U.S.
Right.
And it's just a matter of time. I feel like he's gonna win a tour event pretty soon.
Yeah, he could very well win one this year. He's taken second at 2 majors.
Josh, we had some real professional players playing professional Frisbee tournaments. It's been a little while.
We got to talk about disc golf.
We're going to talk about disc golf? Is that what we do here? The Shelly Sharpe Memorial happened over the weekend. Tell us about what happened, Josh.
Parker Welk beats out an incredibly deep field for what is just an A tier before the season starts in order to get a win. And man, I mean, Parker Welk there, like that, this is a win that I think is actually very important for Parker Welk, especially going into this season.
I mean, how about this, right? He wins in a playoff over AB. I mean, Anthony Barella in Arizona in January and February is like vintage Jordan. I mean, it's like this man is unbeatable. And for Parker Welk to come in and beat him on his home turf, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to get you excited about like, okay, maybe it wasn't just a flash in the pan with Parker Welk. Maybe he really is that dude. I mean, he shot some really nice rounds. I'm looking at the round ratings right now. 1037, 1042, and then he closes out to chase down Barella, get to the playoff, 1070, shoots a 50. And, look, ratings are ratings at this course, but I think to be able to go out there and beat like legitimate other professionals, including Barella and Drew Gibson and a couple other guys were there, Aaron Gossage. To me, this is like, okay, Parker Welk, I mean, are we going to see this guy, find some rhythm on the tour this season?
This has to be a confidence booster for him to do so. Over on the FPO side, Owen Scoggins beats out Jennifer Allen, wins by a couple strokes. This is another case where like if you go to Arizona, you have to beat Jen Allen, right? That's you want to win, and that the difference. I mean, Owen and Jen were at 22 and 20 under respectively. Third place, 2 over. Emily Yale, Upshot listener, congratulations to her. Owen though shoots a 10-18 to open up the tournament, and just never looks back and plays great golf, able to close out the win over Jennifer Allen. And another year and Owens Coggins is still
unreal,
shredded.
It's unreal. Basically starting the season with a 10-18 rated round. I mean, what's the odds on Owen winning a major this year?
Well, let's think.
I mean, she's got probably a 20% chance or something like that. Is that a little too high?
I think it's a little too high.
10%?
Maybe in that ballpark. Because I don't know the FPO court. Oh, but it doesn't matter. Owen can win anywhere. Owen can win.
That's what we've seen.
Yes. Owen can
win. Kristen is so tough, but Owen will be competitive.
Yes.
All season again. It's amazing. We also had the Asia Open. Over at the Asia Open, people were getting a little bit of buzz going because Jackie Chen, who popped off it probably this tournament. I can't remember if it was the Asia Open or another tournament, in Japan or something.
Mm-hmm.
This was in Taiwan. Jackie Chen opens the tournament with a 1063 rated 43, and looks like he might go, beat Philo on his way to a win, but not to be. Manabu Kajiyama gets him in the end after he beats him by 5 strokes in round 3 and wins by 3 strokes. Philo finishes 1 shot back of Chen. So just nice to see Philo getting over there again, and Manabu, nice tournament, fun stuff.
I think this tournament would be so much fun to play in. I mean, yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Congratulations to Manabu. Jackie Chen's 43, his 1063 rated round, was an 18 under. Had a couple of eagles, offset 2 pars, and then is able to go perfect on the rest of the course. So always exciting there.
Just quick note on the FPO side, Chia Feng Chen wins by 19 strokes. She's 928 rated. So maybe somebody to keep an eye on in the future.
What's next, Charlie?
Well, we got to talk about some signings. We've got a few more things. Most of the pieces have now found their way into place. Of course, Niklas Antilla signing 4 years with Discmania. We'll talk to him about that in just a bit. Holland Handley announced a 2-year extension with Discraft. The Discraft signing thing has been a little weird this year because players keep sort of being like, oh, I haven't really said anything, but I re-signed for 2 years. And it's just there's been no buzz on the Discraft side about it. I don't know if that's intentional and we're going to get a video this week or something, but I just find it a little unusual. But great re-signing for Discraft.
Yep.
Holland is she's clearly one of their highest upside FPO players.
Yes. I have to imagine as well, after winning Throw Pink, that she's getting paid pretty nicely now. I imagine that first deal was probably a pretty team-friendly deal, and now is I think Hanley's going to be getting paid a little better now.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm sure it's better. I wonder how good it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting... But, 2 years, it seems like good for both sides. But the big news this week, DGA making a bit of a splash, Josh, as they come out and announce, they had some previous player announcements. We already knew Cole Redolin was back he was still under contract. Katrina Allen's still under contract. Andrew Marweed. But they come out and they announce that they have signed Parker Welk, Macy Villa-Diaz, as Ellie Mittling, Evan Scott, and Sullivan Tipton. Now, each of these players individually, I don't think would be necessarily some sort of groundbreaking thing. Now, we were, of course, very curious where Ellie Mittling was going to land because of just the immense talent that she's already showed.
Right.
But taken as a package, okay, DGA, you're actually here playing in the sponsorship market for real now.
It's funny because last week I literally got done saying, oh, well, I think DGA, they've got Cole, they've got Kat, That's what you want from a smaller brand that's part of a bigger manufacturer, is you just want those two headliners to sell discs. And then DGA goes and does the exact opposite, right? And signs this very deep pool of players behind them. And I guess what I think is interesting here, and you talk about the package deal, and that's really what I wanted to highlight here as well. It is a package deal of young players who are probably they probably have decent contracts, but it's about the upside, right? What happens if Ellie Midling goes on tour this season and beats Kristen in a major? That lots of discs, right? Lots of discs for the price that I'm sure that they were able to get her at. But same thing, right? Evan Scott, Sullivan Tipton, players who have shown upside, shown real potential. You get them on deals, and then if they do really well, you get to profit from that and benefit from that publicity, and you were there first as well. You offer them their first contract, more likely to stay. It creates a lot of opportunity by signing this big collective group of young players, and it doesn't require you to have a crystal ball that says, yep, okay, we're going to sign one. Who do we think is the one guy who's, has the chance to really break out and overperform for the next couple of years?
And they get Macy Vela Diaz presumably on the cheap because DD let her walk.
Yep.
And so, even though she may not play that much this season, assuming that they establish a relationship there, that's a nice piece for the future. Parker Well coming off the win at Shelly Sharpe, hey, good timing for that to happen.
Yeah.
I really like the team DGA's put together. They have some players who can legit win tour events and have proven that. And they have a next tier of players who look like they could be big names in the next 3 to 5 years. And this is all of a sudden. This DGA kind of coming out of nowhere here. And, we hear what Discraft, acquiring DGA. If this would suggest that there's some money coming in there, and that, will DGA start to become a company that people take a look at when they're thinking about filling their bag? I really like the move. Could end up being the best set of signings of the offseason. That's a little bit of a bold claim, but
it is a bold claim. But Ellie Midling wins a couple events or
you think about the value proposition too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to pay up huge to get a Gannon or an Eagle, sure. There's risk there. I think this looks like a relatively low risk set of signings, all things considered, with a lot of potential upside.
Yeah, completely agree.
All right, time to talk to Niklas Antilla. And on the other side of that, we've got a 30-second rule, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the U.S., employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality U.S. materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Joining us now on the Upshot for the first time is Niklas Antilla, who just re-signed with Discmania on a 4-year deal as he moves to the Sky team. Niklas, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. Congratulations on your new deal. You kind of played us here, Niklas. We were all waiting. Where's he going? Where's he going? It's late January and it's back to Discmania. How did this all come to pass? Was this a misunderstanding? Was this an intentional move in your Instagram post? Tell us about it.
I got a lot of people to talk about me, that's for sure. I have been keeping the secret from mid-December, I think. And we basically had two options because we knew that Eagle was leaving and Gannon and Alden, they were joining us. So my announcement was going to be a little bit later in the January. So we had two options to either stay like silent and not say anything, or then just make people talk about Discmania and myself. And yeah, we chose this one this time, and I knew that I was going to make some people mad, but I also made some funny comments happen in the social media and stuff. So I don't know. It was pretty fun for me.
No publicity is bad publicity, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna make a confession because you got me really good here. I love your tour series PDs. They're my favorite run. It's the only ones that I keep in my bag. And when you announced you were leaving, I went down to my local disc shop and I bought another one because I was like, oh, I got to get a backup because if Niklas leaves, I won't be able to get more of these PDs.
Oh, I feel bad.
You owe him $20, Niklas.
Yes.
So I have an extra Niklas Antilla PD now sitting in my basement because I was afraid that you were leaving Team Discmania. So you got me. But you know what? It sold discs, and that's the point of your position, right? So you've got this new deal. What are some of the differences in the terms in these new deals? Can you talk about what you're getting in terms of like a base, what incentives exist, disc release plans, just what's included in this package?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the Sky team now with Kyle and Gannon, so that has been like maybe a goal of mine for several years now, and I'm happy to be there right now. In terms of like what's different in the actual deal is maybe that I can have my own mold, I can design my own mold. Then we will have the Nordic Phenom Academy, which is like big thing for me because I can support like junior players, and that's huge for me because I think that when I was a bit smaller and I was like 15, 16 years old, it was the biggest thing for me to meet and get some support from like Paul Macbeth or Seppo Paju here in Finland. So that's a big thing for me as well. I can't really talk much about like the money side of things, but I think it's public that the guaranteed base payment is more than Kristin or Väinö are making. So
yeah,
that's all I can say.
UC Metasma said to Frisbee Golf Media, a Finnish news source, that you have the biggest European contract, which I think is what you're referencing, and they asked if you would be able to achieve €1 million in earnings during the next 4 years, and he said that's possible, even probable. Obviously, that would suggest that that's with incentives. Do you think that it's possible, even probable, that you'll hit that €1 million mark?
I think so. Yeah, of course. I can't just like disappear now. I need to do things and play good disc golf, and even like my best disc golf, I need to win some tournaments in US to do that. But yeah, I'm happy with my base salary, and that makes my touring in US possible, like very easy, and I don't need to go like the cheapest way every time. And yeah, it makes things a lot easier for me for sure.
Did you how close did you get to signing with another manufacturer?
Yeah, I talk about this in like a Finnish podcast, but of course you can understand that, and I think you haven't even seen the episode. So there were times that I was like almost for sure that I was going to leave Discmania, and in my head that felt like oh my god, is this really happening? Because I have always seen myself like a Discmania player, and it's only been 6 years now, so I'm happy that we are going to get at least 10 years together.
You talk a little bit about the touring and that this is going to allow you to tour in the United States. You obviously take kind of the break with COVID. You don't come over to the United States. Back in 2022, you start coming to the United States again, playing kind of a mixed tour. And that's the year I want to come back a little bit to USDGC, but so, and now you tour full time. what is it like being a European player who comes over and tours in the United States? I mean, there obviously has to be travel logistics and complications that you deal with that not everybody else deals with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more complicated than I would say like what US players have to deal with because it's their own home country and they kind of feel at least somehow at home. I feel like I'm on the road like almost the whole year when I'm playing disc golf, and we need to do like a lot more planning. I think we need to book the flights and book the Airbnbs, and I think it's also different because I feel like I have more like European and especially like Finnish eyes looking at me when I'm in the tournaments, and they wanna see me do good. So, but I don't feel like it's like nothing. It's nothing negative on my side. I like the pressure, and I like to be like representing European and Finnish disc golf on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
How do you balance playing in the United States where we have the biggest fan base, the most, the market is here in a lot of ways, but the sport's growing a lot in Europe and you're obviously well known and popular in Europe. How do you balance playing in the US versus playing in Europe, given the differentials in purse size and media coverage, etc.?
Yes, it's again a bit different for me because I'm from Europe. So every year I want to play at least sometime in Europe and in Finland because that's my home, and I also want to see my guys back home, see my family, and at the same time like I want all the Finnish juniors and Finnish fans see me play every year. So that's also important for me, but because I want to be the number one disc golfer in the world, I need to also play the biggest tour in the world, and that's the Disc Golf Pro Tour in the US. So it's a lot easier now when the DGPT is coming to Europe, and we also have the DGPT points that are counting to the world ranking. So, but I also want to play more in US every year. That way I can make the Pro Tour finals and even win the tournaments back in US.
So just to follow up quickly, do you plan to play a similar schedule as you did this past year? You started in the US and played through Portland Open, and then you went to Europe for about 2.5, 3 months, and then you came back to the US for Worlds. Is it going to look similar this year?
Actually no. I'm gonna play like I will start in Florida and I will play like 6-7 tournaments. It's gonna be like 8-week trip. Then I go back home. I will be back home for 1 week. Then I will play the Copenhagen Open in Denmark, and then I will fly back to the West Coast Wing and play OTB Open, Portland Open, and I think Beer State Fling is the last tournament. Then I will go back home again. I will play all the European tournaments, and then I will come back at the latest for the World Championships. So it's going to be 3 trips next season, and I'm excited for it.
That makes sense. So you'll probably play through Champions Cup and then come back to Europe?
Yes, Champions Cup is going to be my last tournament of the first trip, and it's going to be a lot more flying, but I will do it.
A lot less driving.
To be home. Yes, less driving and more time back home. So that's important for me.
Yeah, got it.
I want to come back to something that I had mentioned. USDGC 2022, you take second place. Mm-hmm. That I think is just such an important tournament. I mean, you take second place at Champions Cup in 2023. You have shown up and played well at the majors. What do you think that second place at USDGC did for you and your brand? I
think now I have been able to look back at that tournament and say to myself, like, that's like a crazy tournament for me. And I made my name in that tournament, I think. But for like the first year after that tournament, I felt so bad about myself. I was thinking about the tournament almost every day. I felt so disappointed in myself that because I was leading the tournament after every round, but not the last round. So that's the only round that actually counts. And I felt like I lost the tournament in like pretty bad way because I missed the putt on 14 and stuff. But I think that's like a big learning experience for me as well, and it's the big thing to have under my belt going forward and having a new chance at win. So I knew that I was going to win at some point. It's just gonna be a later, not now.
So I want to follow up then with a little bit of a different line of thought. And when we look at the European disc golf competitors on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, on the FPO side, you have Kristen, who dominates the sport right now. And, you've also had the like Henna and Evelina in the past who and they still are very good and excellent throwers, especially Silva Saarinen is just another up and comer. And you look at this FPO side, and the European women are extremely competitive. And you move over to the MPO side, and it doesn't feel quite the same. It's been a long time since we've seen an MPO European player win a US-based major, if that one's even happened. What's the discrepancy there?
I don't know. I think that at least in Finland, all the FPO tournaments or the FPO fields, they have been playing the same course as the MPO guys for like, I don't know how many years, but forever. So I think that the courses have been more demanding for FPO compared to US, I think. So I feel very proud to be European because we have so many good FPO players, and I think especially Kristin, she makes Europe very proud every year. I think she's the GOAT of FPO, in my opinion.
The GOAT?
Yep.
All right.
But I don't know. I think more and more MPO players are gonna make the trip over to US these coming years, and I hope that we can also show that we have some MPO talent as well. And I can almost promise that in the next 3 years there's gonna be at least one European winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. At least I hope so.
Well, I was just checking. I went on Statmando and I looked up, how often have you shot 1040 or better as your tournament rating?
Yeah.
And in 2020, you did it once at the Tampere Prodigy Disc tournament. You won that. In 2021, you did it 3 times, all in Europe. This is still kind of like COVID times. You won all 3 of those tournaments. Then in 2022, you did it 5 times, 1 win at Finnish Nationals. And then in 2023, you did it 9 times, which included a Finnish Nationals win and the Konopiste win. So obviously your performance has been steadily stepping up because, winning is not just about your rating. It's about being able to shoot like above your rating for a weekend. How do you, because, I was thinking coming into this, you had such a good 2022 closing out with the second place finish at USDGC. And then it felt like 2023, you didn't earn quite as much cash. You were obviously playing in the US more, so that maybe has an impact there. But it didn't feel to me like quite as good of a season. But actually, when you look at the numbers, you probably played better. It's just that the competition is getting better. Yeah,
and also I think that in 2023, my bad round wasn't that bad. It was very good for being a bad round, and I think that's the biggest difference compared to 2022. But also, I didn't have any like crazy good rounds, so I wasn't able to make lead cards or play for the win that often. And I think that I'm going in the right direction every year, and I'm closer and closer to win the tournament. And I just can't think about winning the tournament all the time. I need to just keep my head calm and think about some other stuff.
When you look at this off season, what aspects of your game are your areas of focus for improvement?
Yeah, so we have a lot of snow here. It's actually crazy, and it's so cold. I think we had like minus Fahrenheit for a straight week, like 1 week ago. So I'm not playing outside at all. I'm only throwing indoors. And luckily for me, I can be there every day when I want to, and I go putt, and I can go to a gym as well. So I think the the biggest thing for me this offseason has been like my forehand. I have always had like pretty good forehand. It's pretty accurate, but it's not the longest one. So that has been like, I have been trying some new stuff, and I think it's a lot better now than 2022 or 2023.
You're now on Sky Team with Kyle and Gannon after all the shakeups of this offseason. Eagle goes to MVP. Gannon, Kyle, they each have a USDGC win. You came close. Is it going to be motivating to you to try to be the top dog on this Discmania team?
Yes, for sure. I mean, when I joined Discmania in 2018, I think we had Simon and Eagle, and they were like the top dogs in the team. And now I think, yeah, Gannon and Kyle, they are bigger names in US than me, but I'm bigger name in Europe than them. So it's more balanced now for sure. And I think it's a lot of people talk about Eagle leaving and Simon leaving, but I only see like good sides in this thing because we have very young team and also very promising team. When we are going to play like 5 seasons, I think our team is going to be like very promising because we have so many young players, and also like on the FPO side we have Ella, we have Alden, we have Gavin, we have all the guys, Thomas as well. So the team is probably the youngest on the tour, but also maybe the most promising.
There are some teams that, we use team loosely. It's players that receive money to rep a certain brand, right? But there are some teams that really do feel like teams. Prodigy last year had a lot of friends, and the guys were very close. There's obviously the shakeups, and your team takes some of the biggest shakeups. Do you consider Kyle and Gannon friends of yours? Do you, when you've played with them on tour, or is that something that you're looking forward to, making better acquaintance with them this season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially like the end of last season, I was hanging around with Alden and Isaac and Gannon and Gavin and those guys, and they're one of my best friends from US for sure. And also Kyle, he is a very good guy. For me, because I have only been playing in US for 2 years now, and I'm not there like full time, so I'm not hanging with them like all the time, but they are good friends of mine, and every time I see them, I'm very happy, and they make me laugh out of time. So it's always good times with those guys.
Give us some predictions for this 2024 season. We've got all this shakeup with the teams as usual, but ultimately it's the archer, not the arrow. So are we going to see more Calvin dominance? Do you think, you're going to call your shot, European MPO winner this season? I know you said next 3 years, almost guaranteed. What do you see happening this year as the tour kind of stretches out a little bit, a little fewer events, but also the European swing? It's it's an interesting year coming up.
I want to see Kristin win the Grand Slam again. I know it sounds crazy, but if somebody's gonna do it, it's gonna be Kristin. There's like no one else in the sport can do it 2 times in a row but Kristin. On the MPO side, I'm gonna predict that Discmania is going to win at least 1 major. That's my prediction.
All right. I just want to follow up. What impresses you about Kristin Tatar?
I think that she's just like, she can throw like almost every shot. Her forehand is so good. And I think the most important thing in disc golf is like to be accurate and make your putts. And Kristin is so accurate with the forehand and also with her backhand. So she's not really giving up that much on like other players because she's almost hitting the every line and hitting every putt. So it's pretty difficult to win a player like that.
All right. Well, Niklas, we wish you the best this coming season. It's going to be exciting. So we'll see you. Are you going to be at the All-Star event or just at the Florida opener?
I'm not playing the All-Star event, but I will be in the Florida chess tournament.
Okay. Well, we'll see you there. Chess.com Invitational.
Yes.
Good luck this season, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you guys.
Niklas Antilla with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Great to have Niklas on the show with us. Can't believe we haven't had him on before, but I'm really excited to see where his career is headed next. I was surprised when I pulled up the stats, Josh, that I read off there, like round ratings above or event ratings above 1050. I was like, oh wow, like his level of play has continued to climb, and has basically doubled his amount of 1050 plus rated events every year in the last 4 years.
It really feels like a matter of time before he gets a win.
Yeah,
it is inevitable.
He has been close. Yeah. All right. Before we dive into 30-second rule, just want to let you know that our Thursday show this week is going to be a mailbag episode. We have not done one in quite some time. We've got a backlog. There's been some great emails coming in, so thank you for sending those in. It's a great chance to get your questions or your comments on this offseason or the upcoming year, or what your predictions, your major picks, whatever's on your mind. Email us, upshot@ultiworld.com. We read every single email. And of course, if you are a subscriber to Ultiworld Disc Golf, hit us up in the Discord, in the mailbag channel with all of your questions, and we will dive into that for our Thursday show. And with that, it's time for 30-second rule, where we have 30 seconds to talk about every topic, and if we go over, it doesn't matter. Josh, take it away.
First up, the newest disc in the Macbeth line, the Kratos, has been announced. This disc is a beaded Luna, and when it first gained PDGA approval, internet sleuths quickly deduced this before any announcements around the disc, as the PDGA image description says beaded Luna.png.
Yeah, like if you just right-click the image and open it in a new tab, it says beaded Luna, even though the disc is called a Kratos.
Nope, it is a beaded Luna. And on Discraft's Facebook, they were talking about bringing it to an expo where they're going to be selling some of these test flight Kratos, and they said that because the core is still the Luna, and for time efficiency reasons, your test flight Kratos will be stamped Luna on the inside, not Kratos. This is a Luna with an extra strip of plastic around the bottom. That is it. But
they're going to sell a lot of these. These are going to sell
so many of these.
Because how many people have just been like, oh man, I really want to love the Luna, but it doesn't have a bead.
You create that group of people with the people who buy every disc in the Macbeth lineup, and you're gonna have some decent sales.
Oh my gosh! And they've known this, right? So they just waited a while to let everybody get ready,
settle down,
and get ready to buy. So here we go.
Yeah. Kristen Tatar announces her newest sponsorship deal with PAF.com. It is a gambling company. And, this, Charlie, I'm really interested to hear your take on this. She posts on her Instagram that it was there's another top athlete who's an Olympic athlete who heads up this company. And, they're standing there holding a disc, looks very nice. But, she talks about at the very end, if we add PAF's message of responsible gaming, we've created a great foundation for starting cooperation. Charlie, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, this is an interesting one. All right, so this is a risk for Kristen Tatar. Who knows what the money is? Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was good enough. At the end of the day, when a gambling company is trying to sell you that they're all about responsible gaming and they are looking out for you, that is literally the antithesis of the business model. I'm sorry. It's all marketing. It's all PR. It's total BS. Gambling companies take advantage of the players who are wasting money, often addicted, and they offer them VIP access, and they give them sports tickets, and they do this and that. I have no idea what the specific business practices of PAF.com are, but at the end of the day, it is a slot machine online company. And they have sports betting. Look, I am someone who enjoys gambling. I am not like anti Kristen Tatar taking a gambling deal. There's gambling. I mean, it's honestly oversaturated at this point. Anytime you watch sports in the US, and it's been like this in Europe for some time, although there's more regulation there on where you can advertise, just nonstop onslaught of DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, you name it.
Yep.
And, you know, it's not exactly the healthiest thing to have as a part of our society, but at the end of the day, people are going to gamble whether you make it legal or not. I do think some people are going to be turned off by this. I think this is one of the first times that I can remember that Kristen Tatar has taken kind of like a chance, a risky move that people will be like, I really don't like that Kristen is doing this. And when can you say that about something that Kristen has done? Like, she has been like exemplary in her, you know, persona, demeanor, interviews, all of that. And, you know, PAF.com can say all they want about responsible gaming, but like the literal industry is built on people losing money.
Yep.
And it's, you know, the deck is literally stacked against you. So I'm glad that Kristen is as successful as she is, and that, you know, especially in Estonia, she's basically a star, and has these kinds of opportunities. But I do think that, you know, acknowledging that I love sports betting and I like that I have access to it on my phone and I enjoy going to the casino sometimes, it's still like the advertising side of it I feel a little bit more uncomfortable with. But, you know, I think Kristen surely weighed those odds.
Yeah. Definitely will be interesting to see how that evolves and how long the sponsorship goes and the role that it plays for Kristen.
I mean, what do you think?
I think I agree that it feels like a controversial one, and it, I think the hard part for me to it's interesting if you type in, you know, and go to PAF.com and pull it up. I was expecting to see sort of like a DraftKings kind of thing, and it's not what I saw at all. Like it's very like, they're animated games. They look like
it's slot machines.
Yeah, it's slot machines, and so it's a little bit odd to me. It also makes me wonder what the reception is going to be like in like Estonia and Europe. I mean, I've never heard of this company. It's hard for me then to kind of create a connection to companies that I know and understand and have heard of before.
Totally.
And so I'm curious to hear from some of our European listeners what their reaction was to this sponsorship deal, because they probably are more familiar with PAF than we are.
Well, I was looking at something in the Estonian press about this. There was like a newspaper article about the fact that Kristen signed this. And I believe that it seems like PAF is kind of like some of the state lotteries in the United States, where the money that they make from the gambling is funneled into like the government coffers and into social projects. So I think like the profits that are being made from this company like fund Estonian parks and education and stuff like that. I didn't like do a deep dive into how this company operates, but that was my impression from the article. That's obviously better than it like just going into the pockets of a corporation.
Sure.
But, you know, it's still, at the end of the day, like the same with the state lotteries, it is a very regressive tax on people who are either susceptible to gambling addiction or poor. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you have those conflicts. But again, I like to play the scratchers. I like to play craps. I like to bet on my sports teams. So it's, you know, I'm not going to be hypocritical and say that I think that she's done something wrong. Right. I just think that this being involved in the gambling industry and taking advertising money is it's a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like if it was a cigarette company, how would you feel? And people would be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And in a way, it's very similar.
Yeah. That's and the other thing that I think is I would have liked better is if it was really a company around like sports betting and they were like, oh, we're going to run some promotionals on disc golf, right? Like,
let us bet on the disc golf.
Because that brings eyes on the sport, that brings attention, that brings money to the sport, and like, but this just feels, it feels very disconnected a little bit, and so that even just further adds to the ambiguity.
They do have a sports book through their website.
Okay.
Maybe they will
Maybe
have disc golf lines this year.
I really want us to be able to have a segment where we get to tell people where we think the lines are at.
Yeah, best bets.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, that was way over 30 seconds. Sorry. Continue.
Next up is so Charlie, I went to infinitediscs.com the other day. I don't remember what I was going to look up. And when you go to infinitediscs.com, a message pops up where if you enter your email address and sign up for their email, then you get 10% off all discs. And I don't know if I've noticed this before or and how long it's been this way, or if I just noticed it because of some of the recent news. But there's now an asterisk that says discount does not apply to MVP, Axiom, or Streamline products. So any disc on Infinite Discs website, you get 10% off, except MVP family discs.
Tells you what you need to know about where the market is right now.
Yeah.
Like, the discs are still hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
The demand is through their ceiling. And Infinite Discs is trying to move other product, right?
Yep.
They got discs sitting on shelves that they want gone, but they sell the MVP even if they charge maximum MSRP.
Yep. That's exactly right. It also makes me wonder about what wholesale costs of MVP stuff is like relative to other companies. Are they having to pay more just to get the wholesale MVP discs? And so that would cut into margins too much if you were to offer that discount.
I just think, why discount a product you know is going to sell anyway?
I completely agree. It's very interesting, man. And I mean, kind of confirms everything else that we've been hearing about MVP sales and that we've talked about. Final piece of news. Nick Dunlap is an amateur golfer from the University of Alabama, sophomore there, who played in the Amex, Amex, it's the American Express tournament on Sunday.
PGA Tour.
PGA Tour, yes. He won. He becomes the first amateur since 1991 when Phil Mickelson was an amateur to win on the PGA Tour. He is the first U.S. amateur reigning winner to win a PGA Tour event since Tiger Woods did it. I mean, he has some illustrious names.
Hype alert.
Yeah.
Hype alert.
Yeah. He's in great company with a lot of his stats. Here's the worst part though, Charlie. Because he is a registered amateur, he did not have the option to accept his prize money. $1.5 million got pushed down. So essentially, second place slides up. It's as if Nick here didn't play and they just slid everybody up one spot. He is going to get a lot of endorsement opportunities.
Yeah, he's going to make his money.
He's going to make his money.
We don't need to cry for him too much.
But being a sophomore in college and having to walk away from 1.5 million because you have to retain, like, because you're an amateur and are playing college golf, that hurts. That must sting.
Unbelievable. I mean, I now I'm looking at a little article about him.
Mm-hmm.
At age 12, he shot a 59. John Gibbons, the head pro, I'm quoting from a PGA Tour article.
Okay.
The head pro at Greystone Golf and Country Club in Birmingham, Alabama, was getting complaints. Dunlap, not even a teenager then, kept beating all the club's members. Guys were getting super ticked, Gibbons said. They didn't want him to play tournaments. They knew he would win. I had to tell him not to play. He's 12 years old. Incredible. I mean, what a story. And now with this, like, everyone's going to know his name. I wonder how quickly he'll decide to go pro.
So because of the win, he's eligible for a PGA Tour card through 2026. Right. He said that he is going to be talking with people to make the decision as to whether or not he has until the end of this year to announce if he's going to go pro in 2025.
It's a tough call whether you want to go pro or you want to stay in college and finish out your college career and get your degree and all that.
Yeah.
But man, like, you're kind of guaranteed to make a lot of money, and he'll probably pick up some sponsorships if he makes the jump now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
But I wonder what the NIL deals are for college golfers.
Well,
I feel like he could get something there.
I'm sure he could. I'm sure he can still make money from endorsements. But if I don't know, when I think about it, golf is hard, and there I would think he wants to take advantage of having that PGA Tour card now, take advantage of the momentum, and just go play on tour for 2 years with no stress. But I don't. I mean, what do I know, right? Like, it'll be an interesting story to follow. One other stat I forgot to mention: he is the youngest amateur to win a tour event since 1910.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. I wonder if we're going to see a there obviously have been some disc golfers who like draw similar comparisons, but we haven't really seen them like at that age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like as a 13-year-old where you're like, holy cow, like this kid is going to be something amazing. But we are literally right now in the generation where that's going to happen.
Yep.
Where we're going to have some kid, like we've had some 16 and 17-year-olds doing stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to have some kid who's like winning local B and C tiers as a 12-year-old playing in MPO or, you know, whatever, let's say playing the MPO track as an amateur. They probably wouldn't be playing MPO at that age, but I think it's just a matter of time.
Definitely. I completely agree.
Awesome stuff.
That's it for 30-second rule.
All right. Well, and that's it for the show. So get your mailbag questions in, upshot@ultiworld.com. We will take them on Thursday. And in fact, we're recording the show on Wednesday morning. So get them in today and overnight, because otherwise they won't make the show. So thank you for being with us. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.